So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have with us Emma Bracegirdle, who's founder at the Saltways. So, firstly, Emma, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, the Saltways, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me to start with.
Very welcome.
And as you said, I'm Emma Bracegirdle. I'm the founder of the Saltways, and we are ethical video production company that creates videos and animations for non-profits. And that could be anything from editing, it can be creating videos from scratch, helping with events, legacy videos, animations. And then the other side of the business is we also do training as well. So we teach a lot of non-profits how to create video content using their own phones. So we always want to create everything that we do, we want it to be aimed at charities of all sizes. So
Yep.
we want to make sure that there's no barriers to creating meaningful content, which is why we then also teach charities they can do it themselves by just using their phones.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, and I mean this must be really valuable because of it's such an important thing nowadays to get a message out, especially with video. I think the stats on posts with videos are so much more engaging than posts without videos. It's got to be something. I mean, just to give an idea, what would make a great client for you? What are the sort of people that you work with best?
I think it's the kind of organizations where, in terms of the fit, when we're making films, it's the charities that kind of have a rough idea of what it is that they want to create, but they're not coming to us with like a really strict brief of we want it to
Yeah,
be filmed on this date. This is who's going to be in it. This is the script. It's more when they work with us, it's a process. So we've kind of honed that down of how we can work together and add value for them. So let's figure out what the messaging is, who the audience is, who the best people to be featured are, what's the timeline for that, can you get most value for money out of this. So it's those clients that are kind of, they know they need to create content, they've got a rough idea, but they're not quite sure of how to get from A to B, and we can really support and co-create, collaborate along the way so that at the end of it, it's not just here's a video and it's going to go dusty on YouTube. It's, oh no, I really understand how this was created, how I can make the most of it, and hopefully then replicate that in the future by either working with us or by creating their own content using their phones.
brilliant, brilliant. I guess I guess it's similar a little bit to some of the things we do is let us lead you. You know what you want to achieve, and we'll help you with that. But let us
Yeah.
use our expertise because that's the expert. I often say in what we do with business coaching is you're an expert in business. In your business, I'm an expert in business. Let's put those two things together and produce
Yeah.
a great outcome.
Yeah, and I
I guess.
think it's taken
Sorry,
me
go
a
on.
while. Sorry, I think it's taken me a while as a business owner to become confident in that and to
Yeah,
actually push back on stuff and say, no, I really actually do know what I'm talking about, rather than going like, oh no, you're right, yeah, sorry, we shouldn't have done that. But actually now having the confidence and all the research we've done together to back it up to say, no, remember, this is why we've done it because of this X, Y, and Z, but also you've decided to work with us because we are experts in this. So you just need to
brilliant.
trust that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's taken me a while to get that confidence to do that.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it is, yeah, it's so important to push back. Because if we don't, then and we just do it the way that somebody wants us to do it, then we'll probably not necessarily produce the best result.
Well, exactly, yeah.
I often say to people, well, when you take your car to the garage, do you tell them how you want it fixed, or do you just let them fix it? You tell them that you need it fixed and let them fix it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
No, and it's difficult with like with comms, I think, because it is all quite subjective of how something
yes,
makes you feel. So
yes,
it can be easy for one person to push back on something because they say, well, it didn't make me feel like this, though. I don't see it as this, but you have to be again, yeah, I now have more confidence saying, but it does work. It's just you're not seeing it in that way, but that's because it's your brain perceiving it in that
yes.
way.
Yeah,
So
and I think I mean, we use those sorts of conversations in things like when we're talking about marketing, is
yeah.
just because you don't which I'm sure is a big part of the use of what you do, but it's like just because you don't like it doesn't mean your audience doesn't like it.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's let the market tell us, and or use the experience of people that have perhaps been doing it for a bit longer. So, do you have any? Have you had any nightmare people that wanted to be, thought they were the world's next best producer and director and stuff? Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
You
a
don't need to
lot,
know
a
many
lot.
names.
I think that's why as well we always insist on at some point. So when we're in that initial stage where we're working with a charity or a non-profit and we have that we get the brief together and we've had that like deep dive with them about what's the message, who's the audience, and they said, well, this is the message and this is what it should do, is we always want to test that a little bit externally. So not on a massive
Great,
scale, we're not doing focus groups, we just say, can we speak to 3 of your donors or can we speak to
great.
5 of your volunteers, and that it doesn't have to be big, it's just testing that a little bit,
Yeah,
because what you've been thinking is the thing that makes your organization special for 20 years probably actually isn't what a lot of your supporters think makes your organization special.
yeah,
So yeah, I think at any scale, that's why we always want to test that messaging a little bit. And it's always
brilliant.
really insightful and helpful to the organization as well, because we let them know, well, actually, this is what people think is the best thing about what you do, or this is why people volunteer, or this is why people want to come and use that service. And I think that's really invaluable, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to do that kind of insight. But it always adds something interesting and different to
Yes.
the messaging.
Yeah, and again, we use one of the principles of in what we do is one of the principles is evidence overcomes belief. It's
Absolutely,
let's not
yeah.
believe this is the right thing. Let's test it out and use evidence to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe if we start, if you'd be kind enough to talk a little bit about your background, how you got into business, and why this particular one for you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I studied law at university, so I think I grew up from a working class background, and my motivation was money when I was younger. I just want to be rich. Um, and went to university to study law and had it all mapped out that I was going to be a media lawyer, had my sort of interest in things with training contracts lined up, and then actually went to speak to lawyers and solicitors at events and asked them, do you like your life? And they were quite shocked that people actually ask them that question rather than boring questions about cases.
Yes.
Um, and most of them said no. They
Oh
said, it's
goodness.
very stressful. Especially women said to me, if you want children, it's not something that I'd recommend. Like you have to give away so much of your time, and it's very, especially the kind of law I wanted to go into, it was going to be very demanding. So I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'll take a break. I'm just going to travel for a little bit, and I ended up traveling for 5 years. And,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, and just I did a lot of volunteering and like I mean, where I grew up was a small village, so we did a lot of community stuff. But I think I was always really interested in
Yes.
community-based things.
Yep.
And then came back from that and started working in restaurant management because I'd done a lot of hospitality stuff.
Right.
So did that and then kind of just felt a bit unfulfilled by that side, but by that work. I mean, it was really good fun, but you can't do
Yeah.
that forever.
Yeah.
So I had a moment where, so I'd started volunteering as a fundraiser for a local charity and just doing bits and pieces of volunteering and fundraising and really liked it.
Yeah.
And then had a moment when I was running a restaurant where a guy shouted in my face about a cappuccino being too cold. And I thought, there's more to life than that. Like, how are people getting so passionate about the temperature of a cappuccino? It just
Yeah.
felt so meaningless all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
Yeah.
I thought, I think I could be doing something different with my life. So then I got a job in a charity as a fundraiser and did that for quite a long time. And then part of that, I just started using because it was a sort of medium-sized charity in New York, and I was kind of doing bits and pieces of comms, marketing, fundraising, as you have to do when you work in that sort of size
Yes.
charity, and started to make bits of content using my phone of the young people that we were working with and
Yeah.
just messages to donors. And then finally and it got really good engagement, and we saw our fundraising grow rapidly.
Right.
And then spoke to the director and said, "Can I actually have budget to make a video properly for a campaign?" And to my surprise, said yes. Um, Spoke to loads of production companies locally, nationally, and they were either really, really expensive for the size of charity that we were, or they kind of expected me to speak their language, and I didn't really understand what they were talking about in terms of all the technical stuff, and I was
Right.
very intimidated by that.
Yeah.
But then lastly, there were just lots of like ethical red flags, like nobody asked about the well-being of the young people that were going to be filmed or if they'd contributed anyway. So I thought, sod this. My brother's a documentary maker. I'll ask him to come and film it. I'll do all the other side of it and just
Brilliant.
learn from doing it. And then thankfully it went really well and the young person enjoyed it. It raised a significant amount of money and yeah, it kind of just clicked into place. And I thought, well, I think I could be helping more charities do this.
Yes.
Um, so I think because I was still in my job at the time was a bit of a luxury. So I spoke to lots of charities. I went out and spoke to probably 20 different charities and asked them, have you worked with a production company? I mean, now I know this was market research, but at the
Yeah.
time I just thought, I just want to find this out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Asked them, what do you feel like was missing? How much do you think be willing to pay for this? And then started just hustling to get work really. And then it kind of was a bit of a I'd say more than a side hustle, but it was something that I was doing as well as fundraising for about 4 years, and then I went full time in it last year, and it's grown pretty quickly since then.
Brilliant.
But I think actually COVID kind of helped me in that position because it meant that I could do a lot of stuff remotely and work with more national charities, and they didn't have to I didn't have to go meet them in person, which
Yeah.
meant that I could work with bigger and more national charities. Whereas I think if it had been just where I was, it would have
Yeah.
been a lot more difficult.
Interesting. Yeah. So that really helped and enabled you to broaden the net. So and so looking back then, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome so far?
I think just because I was going into it not knowing really anything about the business side of things, so I kind of just thought, especially, when you first get paid from a client, you think, great, let's spend it. And I didn't understand about, budgeting or profit and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So that's been a very steep learning curve.
Yes.
But I think the biggest challenge I've had is just finding good people to work with and then being able to keep them on. So we work with a network of freelancers, like videographers, producers, and now we're in a position where we've got a wonderful network all over the UK. But that took a long time to build
Wow.
that network and people that would. It was more from an ethical side of things that really matched with our approach to filmmaking rather than just sort of rock up, turn on a camera and shoot and then leave. We really wanted and now have people that are really understanding and trauma informed and empathetic because a lot of the people that we're filming with are telling us stories of, you know,
Mm.
real trauma or something that's happened to them. So yeah, I think that was a challenge. And I think the rapid growth that we've had this year has been difficult to kind of predict and react to the ebbs and flows of business because it's project based. It can be really mega busy and then all of a sudden it's gone really quiet. And I've learned that I have to be constantly doing business development to keep that steady, where rather than going into being in the projects all the time
Yes.
and then not having the time to actually do the business development. So then it's really busy and then it goes zoop. Whereas if I am strict with myself and make sure I do business development all the time, then at least
Great.
it's steadier. But that's something I've just had to learn, and I think, yeah, but I feel like it's turned a corner, and I understand the business a lot better than I did as a business,
Brilliant.
because for a while I just saw it as, oh, this is just a bit of a side hustle.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's interesting you say that. I think it's Michael Gerber talks about this idea that when we start business, it very much is like exactly a seesaw. So it's get a customer, then deliver well
yeah,
to keep them, and then oh heck, get another one, and then
yeah,
uh,
exactly, yeah,
and it really needs to be more two sort of cogs, two wheels working together. So we're
yeah,
getting them and keeping them at the same time, and it's but obviously when we're relatively small, it's only a small group of people. It's more difficult to do that. Um,
yeah.
so what other things have you learned about growing your business? Obviously, whether it's from the challenges or the successes you had, what things stand out alongside that idea of the consistency of the marketing and business development?
Yeah, I think a piece of advice someone gave me at the beginning, which really stuck with me, and it was someone who runs an agency that's bigger than ours and has been doing it for 25 years. And he said to me, just be a good person and do good work. And I think that that's actually really come to fruition because
Yeah,
because people then it's word of mouth, it's people come
yeah,
back to you, and now we get and then he did say, don't worry too much because people just keep coming back to you. If you're a good person, you do keep good work, and then they'll move to another charity and they'll take you with them, and then that one, and it will just
brilliant.
organically grow like that. And it actually has because people
Yeah,
say, oh, we really like working with you, and you obviously care. So
Yeah,
that's worked, I think. The other thing as well is just different. I think the thing that I learned last year is we do free workshops for charities. So we do them monthly. At the time, I didn't realize that that's what's called a sales funnel. I just
yeah,
designed them because I felt bad that I couldn't always do films for small charities. So I wanted to
yeah,
have an alternative. And that training side of things has really grown quite quickly. But actually, I think sharing knowledge is really important.
yeah,
And I think there's enough out there for everybody.
yeah,
And it's just I think that that's been a really good marketing tool,
yeah,
unintentionally to start with, but now intentionally of doing free stuff,
yeah.
doing talks, just getting out there and kind of sharing knowledge and insight.
Brilliant. No, yeah, absolutely. It's a way of showing, demonstrating what you do, valuable, and it just connects with other people. But as you say, just be and and I believe this very strongly is be close to your values. Because
Totally, yeah.
one thing I believe for quite a long time now is get this right. So good relationships come with a match of goals. We both want to achieve the same thing, but
Mm,
great relationships come with a match of values. We both believe the same things are important. And
yeah,
when you find people that believe that, then we will have long term relationships. And I think that's
yeah,
it's a great. I think, and the beauty is get to it with people that we typically like because they believe the same things are important. It's just like
yeah.
very virtuous. Um, I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impacts on you?
I think without sounding too cheesy, probably my dad just throughout my life, because it's always just been just do what you care about. Don't give a shit what people think. As long as you're a good person, like and you believe in
Yep,
what you do, don't worry about everything else will fall into place. So I think that's kind of been a driving force. I did a thing that really transformed my business as well was a program with a charity called Hatch at the beginning, which is like for underrepresented entrepreneurs. And that was you kind
yep,
of connect and do one-to-one mentoring sessions as part of it in areas that you want to go into. And I've really,
brilliant,
from that point, really understood the value of coaching and mentoring. And I think I've kind of since then always had at least one mentor working with them, even if it's
brilliant,
just dropping someone an email on a message on LinkedIn that I admire and say, can I have an hour of your time to pick your brains? Like, and then just chat to
brilliant,
them for an hour and just ask questions. I think it's invaluable. And I think just absorbing and being open to probably even coaches that don't realize they're coaching me. Like I really like Daniel Priestley and the stuff that he
yep.
does.
He's a good guy.
Like things like that. So just listening to stuff and being open to different ideas and not just being like, this is the way we do it.
Yep,
Like listening to other perspectives. I think, yeah, my dad definitely is like an ongoing force, but then I think there's been people that have come
brilliant,
in and out at various points of where I've been within the business with the business. Recently worked with someone who was an operations coach and she was great called Emily Hatton. So yeah, I think I will always have some sort of coaching or mentoring throughout. I
wonderful.
think it's invaluable. Yeah.
It's. I mean, it's just what's the right thing. I've been doing it for 20 years now, and I've seen the value that we deliver, and I'm really proud of that. But also, I'm still coach myself because we still need. I know how to coach people, but we can't coach ourselves. It's like
Yeah.
because we still believe, unfortunately, the bullshit that we tell ourselves every day.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
someone to just say, "Well, are you sure about that?" or whatever.
Yeah, I think as well because it can be really lonely running a business,
Yes.
and even just having someone that you can like be really vulnerable with and to tell them about, this is what's worrying me at the moment and trying to figure out solutions, or even just have someone who can say, well, no, let's look at the bigger picture and
Yeah.
everything's fine and let's look at your finances together and that's all okay and because you can get in your own head about stuff and then I think having
100%.
someone who's external to it, who's got the experience and
Yeah.
authority really helps with that feeling of isolation.
Yeah, I think there's that, you've highlighted something really important there. It's someone that cares but isn't directly involved,
Yeah.
and therefore their future isn't directly dependent on it. It allows us to be dispassionate but caring, and
Yeah.
I think that's really key. So whether it's from any of the mentors you mentioned or anywhere else, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings that you catch yourself using a lot about business success or life in general?
I think the word grit always comes to mind.
Brilliant.
I think I always, when it feels like I'm in the trenches, it's no, we're going to get through this because there's no
Brilliant.
other option. So there's that feeling of grit. And then I heard a quote the other day, which I've said to myself quite a lot, is these are the good days. So like, because the days when it's horrible, like something goes really
Yep.
wrong, whether it's personally or in business,
Great.
those aren't the good days. So
No.
actually, these days where things like, yeah, it's tiring, yeah, it can feel difficult, but actually, these are the good days to really like
Yeah.
appreciate and value those good days, I think is something that I've kind of trying to embrace a bit more at the moment.
I think it's so important, isn't it, as you say, because it's easy to recognise the bad days because we're in them
Yeah.
and it's horrible. But then the other days we've got to recognise as good days to balance. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't think we do a lot. We one of the things we do regularly with all our clients and a whole bunch of other people is we get together every quarter to plan the next quarter, goal setting, planning to make
Yeah.
sure we're all on track. But part of that is celebration, which
Yeah.
I find entrepreneurial people are very, very bad at, celebrating, and to highlight the good stuff, as you rightly say, because the bad stuff is there, um, and it's amazing how uncomfortable people feel in celebrating,
Totally. Yeah.
and so it is almost a making people celebrate. But what's wonderful I find is when we get people together and working on tables, and they say, well, we only did this, we only increased by 20% this quarter, whatever it would be, and to get that feedback from our peers,
Yeah.
it's amazing. We whatever it would be, we overcame this, or and what can seem to be less important or significant, we create a level of significance by people celebrate with each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. And similarly on the learning side, do you have any favorite books or podcasts that you can recommend? You mentioned Daniel already. Brilliant.
Yeah, I really like Daniel Priestley. I like things where it feels very practical that you can take really practical advice from.
Yes.
Books I there's one called it's called something like The Power of Magic Moments or something, and I can't remember who wrote it, and I might be saying the name wrong, but it's about um creating those little magic moments for your customers, like these little moments of joy that they
Brilliant.
wouldn't expect, and how that really, really reinforces that they remember you differently if you create those little sparks of magic for them. So we do things like we'll pull a still from the footage of a film. We always send a handwritten thank you card after each of our films are
Love it.
done. Or we'll do like a little free guide of here's how to make the most of your film. So it's like just these little unexpected things that I
Love
think
it.
of yeah, just get across that thing that we really care and because we do and we really love doing it. So yeah, that was a really cool book. And there was another one called I can't again, I'm so bad at remembering names. I should look them up before, but it's a book about selling, but it's about sales, but it's about the different part like the crocodile brain and how
Yes.
like you appealing to like making people just feel safe straight away when
Yep.
you're in those like pitches. Power of pitching, I think it's called.
Yep.
Something like that. Sorry, I should probably look it up.
All good.
But that was a really good book because I think again it's that changed the way I have those initial conversations with clients in like trying to initially just reinforce my expertise and say, like you're in safe hands here.
Brilliant.
And then kind of going in with listening a lot more to what they're worried
Yeah.
about and then trying to address those in the
We'll,
conversations.
we'll see if we can pick up research those two. I think I know
Yeah.
the ones
I'll
you meant.
send you the links. Sorry, I'm
Please,
terrible.
no, that's great. No, that'd be great. We'll make sure to put them in the notes. No, it's interesting because it's we there's a guy called Paddy Lund. Going on your first point, there's a guy called Paddy Lund who's a dentist in Australia. He's a really interesting guy, but he realised it was all about those magic moments,
Yeah.
and he coined the phrase critical non-essentials, and what he means is they're not essential to transacting business, but they're critical to the relationship. They're
Yeah.
critical to creating the wow moments,
Yeah.
and so so valuable. And it's interesting. You mentioned the sales, and one of the things when I do sales training, I always say, so what's the first word that comes into mind when people say salesperson, and you probably won't be surprised to hear how many negative words come to
Yeah.
mind. And I say, look, the challenge we've already got right now is if you think that the person you're going to see is thinking that of you, you're already
Mm,
on the defensive. You're already on the
yeah.
defense. You're already trying to make excuses for not being that person, but you're not that person. So just be you and just make
Yeah.
it clear that you're here to help if they both need it and want your help.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I learned that with fundraising as well, because I think again, that's
Yes,
word you say you're a fundraiser, people think, oh, gross. You just ask people for money all the time. But then if you flip it to now you're giving them an opportunity to support something they really care about,
brilliant.
and you're just the sort of the facilitator for
Yeah,
that. And that's the same with, I think, with instead of feeling it's sales, it's like, no, I'm actually providing a really good service that I think that they would find
absolutely.
valuable.
Absolutely. If I mean, it's got to start with we believe the value of what we do. If
Yeah.
you don't believe the value of what you do, you might as well give up.
Yeah, yeah,
It's only a transactional thing then, and that's not really going to work.
yeah.
And I'm keen to know, Emma, what you've learnt about yourself throughout your journey so far.
Um, Probably the grit thing is a big thing. I'm very determined, so I know that I really believe in what I'm doing, and I
Yes,
don't see as there like being a backup option at the moment. I really do believe in what I'm doing, and I think it's important. Um, Probably that I really believe in my values as well, and I'm not willing to compromise on them. And I have turned down work when I feel like there isn't a values match, and I kind of always knew that about myself, but that does make me feel quite proud that I'm able to
great,
do that, even though my accountant might say, "Why are you turning down business?" But I've learned the hard way that I just can't work with people where our values don't
100%.
align.
Well, I would suggest you might suggest to your accountant that when there's a values match, there's actually more profit.
Yeah,
And I
I
know you're not
agree.
doing it for that reason, just so we're both clear that
Yeah.
that it's because the relationship is way better. You're not because we often get people. One of the things we do with our coaching programs is get people to start to define their current clients as A, B,
Mm,
C, D, and the A's being they love us, we love them. We've got a real strong values match. Consequently, they value what we do. They pay full price. They pay on time, and they recommend us to other people.
yeah, that's true.
They're the people, so they are by definition the most profitable clients. So
Yeah. And you spend less time on the back and forth over meaningless things,
yeah,
which means it's less of your time. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, I'll say that next
please
time.
do. No, please do. But I mean, there's a Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule, which tells us, and it is true, and we've seen it so many times, is 80% of profit comes from 20% of clients in a
Yeah,
business, especially in the businesses that aren't as strong on value matching, because you get your A's that are that value match, you
yeah,
get B's that are fairly close, but okay, and then most businesses, because they don't focus on value-based marketing, will have a bunch of what we call C grade clients, and for us, C stands for can't deal with. That
yeah, yeah,
they're always complaining, they always
yeah.
want a
Nightmare.
discount. Yeah, you're obviously doing a great job of not working with them, so you will be more profitable because of that. I can you can
Right.
quote me on that one if that helps.
I will. Thanks, Chris.
um, Now, in one of the definitions or the definition we have in Action Coach of a true business is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without its owners. Emma, I'm keen to know what your thoughts are on that. And
Yeah, that's something again that I've really worked on this year of trying to be less in the business and be
yeah,
more working on business development and marketing and strategy and not in the project. So this year I did take on a project manager, which has been a game
brilliant,
changer because it
brilliant.
means that I'm not in everything all the time, which just sucks all my time up. So I completely agree, and it's hard to let go of that control over the minuscule things, but I learned from having my first ever 2 week holiday of no contact with work last year.
Well done.
Yeah, it was a big achievement. I felt a bit lost, to be honest, but I learned that it doesn't need to be me all the time. And actually, the project manager does a better job than me. Sorry, the cat's going crazy.
All good.
The project manager does a better job than me at some of the stuff. So actually, it's better that she's doing it anyway. And the plan is to take on more project managers as we grow, so
Brilliant.
that I don't get pulled back into the day-to-day stuff.
Brilliant. Yeah, for many people, I know I often say when we talk about it, I say I'm more than happy to say can work without the owner, because if we really love what we do, or at least parts of what we do,
Yeah.
there's no need. I know I'll always be coaching. It just the amount of coaching I do
Yeah.
may vary, but it's something to aspire to and move towards. I think is the key thing.
Yeah. Just
But
letting go, like learning how to let go of
letting go.
control, I think. Yeah. And realize what value you add is not the day-to-day stuff. It's actually the bigger picture things. And that's
Yes,
what I find most exciting now anyway. So it's that motivates me more than getting into the
brilliant.
nitty-gritty stuff every day.
And I think one of the last things that any leader should delegate is the maintenance and communication of values of the organization, which is obviously very important to you. It's like
Yeah,
we
yeah,
should be the champion and the communicators, both internally to our team and externally to our clients, our investors, everybody, our stakeholders, whoever they are, is making sure people say this is who we are, this is our identity, and it's great to hear that you are really clear on that through the whole process of business development and growth. Um,
yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah, the value stuff as well, being able to communicate that really clearly internally has been something we've worked on this year. So we have in our monthly meetings, we go around and say who's either seen or demonstrated of one of our values this month and tell us a story about it. So we do always start with like, these are our values, how have we
brilliant.
demonstrated this month? Or how have we seen when we've maybe not and we should have change things slightly. But yeah, I think the values used to just be something that was set on the website, and then if someone asked for them, I go, oh, here they are. But actually now it's something that I have up on the wall next to me, and I always, if I'm thinking about a decision, I think, where would this fit in our
Brilliant.
values? How would that be perceived by a potential client?
Absolutely brilliant. See, our values is ultimately forms our identity. It's who we are, and
Yeah,
therefore it's really important we tell people who we are, both clients, potential team members. The same I would suggest should apply for team members. I wouldn't
yeah,
if a team member is totally alien to our values, then they're not really gonna um,
yeah.
fit in that well either. So, I mean, obviously, quite exciting times at the moment. And what does the future look like for you guys, Emma? And what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
I think, like I said, we grew quite rapidly in the last year since I've been full time in the business, which is very exciting, but obviously comes with its own challenges of how do we sustain that now, like this whole new
Yes,
level of income and expenditure, and how do we shift things around to make sure that's profitable. But also, what's really lovely is that like I said, the training side of things is really taking off. So I think it's making sure that putting as much energy into that as possible, but then not letting the other work that we do suffer because of that. So that I think that's a bit of a challenge, because if I'm being pulled over there, then it
yeah,
means I need to still have oversight of this stuff too. So I think that's probably going to be something I'm still need to figure out. But yeah, I'm really excited and sort of motivated to just see where it goes. It doesn't feel like
brilliant.
it's got boring yet, so that's quite good.
Brilliant. No, but wonderful.
Yeah,
For me, understandably so, because you've kept true to yourself.
yeah,
It's I think I think you said just a little while ago. The challenge with most organisations is the vision, mission, and culture ultimately gets sidelined. It goes on the wall,
mm,
and people
yeah,
don't believe it. But it should be at the front and foremost of everything we do, and it
yeah,
should guide us on our decisions, on our planning, on our strategy. And if we do that, then it's always it should stay relevant to us as individuals too. Um,
yeah. And you could just feel more proud of the work that you're doing because it matches with what you believe
absolutely,
is right.
absolutely. It's so it's so true, and yet it's so crazy. So many businesses aren't values led.
I know.
It yeah, but there we go.
I know, which is why, oh yeah, I guess this is a whole nother subject, but I think that's with the rise of like AI and the like conversations around ethics and stuff, it's really important that that organizations, charities, businesses have a stance on stuff and have like a way that you can identify them as, oh, these are the people that I can trust because of X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Because there's a breakdown of trust with a lot of
Yeah.
organizations, I think, at the moment that aren't as transparent. And I think
Yes.
it's vital that charities, organizations, businesses just do have some sort of standing of where they are in the world and what they believe in and what they're
Yeah.
willing to do, what they're not willing to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're probably familiar. There's a great book called "Start with Why" by Simon
Yeah,
Sinek, which
yeah,
really does summarize that. And I mean, there's quite a few presentations on YouTube and stuff that you can pick up on it, and it really
yeah,
is great about this is why we do what we do, and therefore, if you're aligned to that, brilliant. If you don't, that's fine too. But probably best find somebody else to work with, which I think is great.
yeah,
And
yeah. So
and if you started again, Emma, is there anything significant you do differently? Do you think, or not?
I think I'd probably have gone full time earlier,
Right.
like taken the risk a bit earlier because
Yep.
it paid off pretty quickly, and it just needed me to have more time in the business, which I know isn't an option for everybody, but um, I just thought, sod it, I'm just going to do it. So I think I kind of probably would have done that maybe a year or so earlier.
Yep.
And I think just trusting my instinct more with like people we were working with, freelancers or organizations where I felt like something wasn't quite right, but I
Yep.
sort of stuck with it, and then inevitably it wasn't quite right. But I've learned to do that now. But I think if I'd have listened to my gut a bit more with that,
Yes.
yeah, there's a horrible saying, but it is something I do think is quite accurate, is hire fast, fire faster. Like if it doesn't feel like it's working, it's not gonna change. It's just probably gonna get worse.
Yep.
So I think I've trust that a bit more. Obviously, there's going to be teething problems if someone starts, but if it feels like there isn't a values match there, then
Yeah.
it's just not going to work.
No, all of our recruitment that we do for
Sorry.
ourselves and our client is values based. It is, values and behaviours, which typically come from value. Behaviours typically come from values. So, because the crazy thing is traditional recruitment, which is just looking at CVs, typically means we recruit on experience. A CV doesn't tell you about the values and the behaviours of the individual. They might
Yeah,
write them down, but we all can write down a good CV that sounds good.
exactly. Especially with
Um,
ChatGPT now, I could just be like, write this to match these values.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly right. And so, we again, we get groups of people together. So we have an initial interview that's a group of people, and we'll just see which are the ones that come to the surface and are
Yeah,
really
no.
engaged with
Yeah,
with the vision and the values of the organisation, and then take those and find. I mean, a base level of skill is obviously, you
good.
might need a qualification. Yeah, yeah. I always say if I ever need a brain surgeon, I'd like them to be more than just enthusiastic. I think a bit of skill would be good on that one, but yeah, but no, but focus on values and behaviours
Yeah.
over experience, base level. And so final question, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that?
Trust the process, probably. Like trust that
Brilliant.
it's gonna work. Like just stick to who you are and what you believe in, and the rest will fall into place.
Brilliant. Love it. Sound advice. Sound advice for us all, I think. Um, Emma, it's been fascinating to touch you. And congratulate on everything you've achieved and clearly
Thank
are achieving
you.
and moving forward. Um, and for anyone that's watching would like to get in touch with you or the Saltways, what's the best way of doing that?
Just visit our website, thesaltways.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Emma Bracegirdle, and just drop me a message. I'm on there more than I'd like to be. So I usually can get back to you pretty quickly on that.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, look, it'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and just see next development
Yeah.
and how things are going for you. But for now, thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. It's been great.
Thank you.